Hello everyone. So today we're playing another Western skirmish game. This is the fourth game that I'm going to be looking at, fourth set of rules. Today is the turn of Gunfighter's Ball. Now, Gunfighter's Ball is produced by Knuckle Duster Miniatures. It's associated with a range of figures again, a bit like Tombstone was, and Dead Man's Sand, I suppose, is comes linked to Great Escape games. The difference really with Gunfighter's Ball is it's very much it's got sort of resonances of a role-playing game. So it's a different mechanism again from the other three sets of rules. I'm going to be talking just enough for you to understand what's going on in the game, and again I'm going to save my comments and a sort of deeper analysis of the rule set to another video where I'll compare all four sets of rules. But once again, I'm going to be trying to play out a bank robbery on this building in the middle of the table here, and try and reproduce as closely as I can the same scenario that I played in the three previous videos. But because it's a role-playing style of game, it's not going to be very it's not going to be entirely possible to sort of make it parallel to all the other three, but so I'll just go into that in a little bit more detail now, focusing on various parts of the table. Okay, now in Gunfighter's Ball, the characters are activated by turning over cards in a normal set of playing cards. Each card is connected to a particular figure on the table. So that is the first slight issue, is that obviously there are only 13 cards in a deck. 13 cards, 1 to ace, ace to king. So that's only 13, and I've actually been playing with 7 figures aside. So what was I to do about the 14th? Well, pretty easy. By some kind of fluke, this particular pack of playing cards that I have in my possession has 3 jokers. Now, you don't need all 4 necessarily of one particular denomination of card, so I'm going to use the joker as well in the pack, and that will allow me to play with 14 figures. But that is the maximum really that you can play with in Gunfighter's Ball, unless you come up with an alternative solution of printing your own, having a sort of custom-made deck of cards or some other mechanism for activating the players. The other thing as well, let me just point the camera at a different place on the table. Yeah, the other thing as well is that in Gunfighter's Ball, there's meant to be like a games master, a dungeon master, sort of person, participant that you would get in a role-playing game, and he or she is known as the judge, and the judge is kind of umpiring, creating the atmosphere, running the game, producing lots of different incidents and so on to colour the game and give it a little bit more excitement. Remember that on the 14 figures being played in this game is the sort of over the maximum. Normally you'd be playing with 1 or 2 figures per player, so that means that the judge is actually responsible for activating and joining in the game with all the other sort of characters, citizens, and incidental characters, and even animals and so on, and events that occur in the game. And in the previous games, I mean, all my civilian kind of figures have sort of had some role in the game as innocent bystanders and that sort of thing. But I'm going to be playing with these figures a lot more and getting them to actually operate in the game. So again, in the pack somewhere, there is one of here it is. Yeah, there is another card in the pack, which is similar to what you get in a lot of playing card packs. Normally you just throw it away. This one is a bridge scoring table. So these cards were obviously intended to be played with bridge. So I'm going to use that every time that turns up in the game. I'm gonna sort of activate one of those characters. I'll make it any non-combatant, sort of figure that I've got on the table will be able to do something. So they are going to be able to join in the events, but not to any great extent. Some of them are, obviously the bartender wiping the glass isn't particularly going to be a particularly great threat to the outlaws, but a lot of these characters are armed with pistols and so on, so they're going to be taking part in the game anyway. Yeah, now on to the actual bank and the loot itself. Okay, now all the figures I've placed in very sort of similar places to previous games. There are 4 outlaws in the bank robbing it. This is the, is it on camera? No, it's just, oh it is, yeah, it is slightly on. This is the safe here that's just been broken into, and they're going to make their escape out of the back door. But in this game I'm going to make use of something that I haven't used in previous games, is these MDF tokens. And I've got 3 of those, so there are only going to be 3 loot. So the way this game is going to work is that the game will be over once those 3 loot tokens are either removed from the table, and again the outlaws have to escape down one of the 2 streets, or have been returned to the bank. And that's because in this game, as I say, a lot more like a role-playing game. It's possible for characters to do lots of things, drop things, pick things up. So in other words, the lawmen and all the citizens are going to be able to act to bend over, pick up the loot bag, carry it. So they're going to be trying to take the loot back to the bank, whereas the outlaws are trying to carry it off the table. So the game will be over when all 3 are either off the table or back in the bank, and then the winner of the game will be that if you'll win if you have all 3 either back in the bank or off the table, or you have 2 and you have more figures still alive on the table. That's not including the citizens, that's just the main protagonist. You have more left alive on the table than the opponent. So I think that I don't think there's any way using those rules that you could have a draw. So using 3 tokens is, the best way of doing it rather than 4. Okay, so let me just show you again how I've had to organise myself in order to be able to keep track of everything that's going on in this game. So I've had to produce a card for each figure, because you have to keep track of how much ammunition they've spent, whether they've received any injuries, and so on. So just to give you a close-up of one of the cards, we'll show you the Lawman's card. Maybe I'll zoom in on that with it flat on the table. Yeah, that's probably better. Okay, so this is the card for the sheriff. Now, if you remember, I said that in the very first game, the Legends of the Old West, I'd actually given all the figures names. I mean, this is the first time really that I'm making use of that name generation, because I have to kind of each figure has a separate identity now, so it's going to come in handy for that. So here's the sheriff. His name is Lackey Schaefersman, and he is armed with 2 pistols, each one of which can fire 6 bullets before it needs to be reloaded. In this game, one action is to draw a pistol, but I've found in the practice game that's a little bit hard to kind of remember whether or not the pistol is drawn at the very beginning of the game. So they're going to start the game with any handheld weapons already drawn. So in other words, Lackey Schaefersman is carrying both his pistols, one in the right hand, one in the left. Even that is, you have to remember that the top one is right and the bottom one left, because you can get your right hand injured and then only be able to fire with the left hand, or you can get the weapon shot out of your hand and damaged, so that you either are firing with your non-dominant hand or you transfer it to the other side, and so on. And you can even say that some characters in the notes, you can put that they're left-handed. It goes into that much detail. So anyway, he is armed with 2 pistols, each capable of firing 6 bullets without being needed to reload. The 3 here, excuse me, the 3 here is the number of cards that he has in the pack that can be turned over. So in other words, he will be activated 3 times during any turn, and he has 2 qualities. So I've tried to, there are lots of quirks and skills and so on in the back of the book that you use to generate your character. I've given him 2 skills that mean that he's got sort of similar characteristics to in previous games. So he is a leader, so when his card is drawn, he can give that card to an ally within 12 inches, and that is worth +2 points in the back, to give you an idea of how useful an ability it is. And he's also tough, so he begins the game with more wound chips, more on that in a moment, than a normal character. Again, that is worth +2. So I have tried, with the exception of the weapons not being kind of costed in the rules, so the outlaws probably are carrying more weaponry. So I thought, well, that'll probably balance out with the fact that the figures on the table, the citizens and bystanders, are going to be acting against them as well, and they have weapons, so I thought that would balance. So I've costed both sides in terms of these points that they've given for the skills, plus this value here, the number of turns, and both sides are equal in that respect. And then back to the my main kind of part of the table where I've got everything organised. So this is another card for another character. You can see he's got a single pistol, no particular skills, but this notes box I'm going to be writing in. Oh yeah, I've laminated. This is all printed on photographic paper, but then I've laminated it all so I can write on it with a non-permanent marker and erase things as, you know, if they recover or if they reload and that kind of thing. So that's his card. Now that we mentioned wound chips before, so normally a character figure will have 9 wound chips that you remove as they take damage. 6 of them are supposed to be white, but I don't have enough white chips, so I've got green for the lawmen and white for the outlaws. So 6 of them in this case are green and 3 are red. When you get down to the red wound chips, that means he is mortally wounded, but he can still carry on in the fight until his last wound chip is gone, and then he's dead. And he has a card here. This is just to remind me which card activates this chap here. He's called Darius Monroe, but also this is known as a whole card. So that's why you can only have the maximum of 3 activations. This chap's only got 2, because the 4th card is always going to be the whole card. And you can use that if you're being shot at to play a quick draw, where if that is face up, then you turn it over and you play out a quick draw where you may beat your opponent to the draw and shoot him before he can shoot you. And that, I think, is everything, so let's get on with the game. Okay then, first card to be turned over is a 6, and that belongs to Widdens Lee, who is an outlaw, and he is standing outside the bank at the moment. Okay, so this is Widdens Lee here. He is armed with a rifle and a pistol, but the rifle is two-handed, so we're going to be firing. We're going to be saying that he has got carrying his rifle at the moment, and he is going to fire at this character here using his rifle. So it's only 10 inches range, which is short range for a rifle, and there is a 60%, this is another interesting aspect of the game, that it uses percentile dice. There is a 60% chance of him hitting. So every time his card is turned over, he can have 2 actions. So what he is going to do is, with the first action he is going to aim, and with the second he is going to fire a single shot. He could actually, if he wanted to, with that single action, because it's a repeating rifle, he could shoot up to 3 bullets. But we're just going to do the 1 for the time being and try and conserve a little bit of ammunition. So aiming in his first action increases his chances of hitting by 10%. He's got a 70% chance of hitting. Now, had it been less than 9 inches, this character here could have tried to beat into the draw, play that quick draw ability, but it's not, so we're not going to be doing that now. Right, here we go then. So we're going to get 70 or below, and we rolled an 18, so that is a hit straight away. Now I have to keep track of ammunition expenditure and so on, so we're going to tick off a box there. As I say, he could have fired up to 3 shots, but he chose not to. But had he chosen to, even though the first one is a hit, it's not necessarily a kill, but if he does kill him with this shot, you're still supposed to tick off 3 boxes there. Right, so now we're rolling on a wound table to see where the hit has been. I could have made a cooled shot, which reduces the the chances of you hitting by quite a lot, by about 30%, so it would have only been a 40% chance of hitting, and I would have hit him incidentally because I rolled 18. But then you choose the spot that you hit, you don't roll on the wound table, so obviously you choose the head or the heart to kill the character outright, but I didn't do that. So now we're rolling to see where we've hit, and it's a 50, and 50 is hitting the gut. The character falls prone and crawls only and loses D3 plus 3 wounds. Okay, so I'm using D6s as D3s. 1d3 plus 3. Yeah, so he has lost 4 wound chips. So I've made a note of all of that on his card now. His name is Aloysius Burton. So I've removed 4 of his wound chips and written that he's hit in the gut, he's fallen prone, and he can now crawl only. So he's prone at the moment, but he can use an action to stand up again. Oh no, if it had just fallen prone, but because it says crawl only, that means that he's going to be prone for the rest of the game. So a bad start for the lawman. So we go on to the next card now, and that is a 2, which is another outlaw called Banks Stilson, who is in the bank carrying one of the bags of loot. That is Banks Stilson there. Now, interestingly, he has got. He is actually holding a loot bag on his figure. I'm still going to carry on using the loot token, but what I'm trying to say is that he's carrying it in his right hand, and he's got the pistol in his left. So I hadn't noticed that before when I was playing the previous game. But what I'm going to say is that his left hand is his dominant hand. Otherwise, it makes his shooting ability, it detracts from his shooting ability. So what he is going to do anyway is he is just going to use both his actions to move as far as he can and try and leave the table. Okay, so you can hold back your second action to see the result of the first before you make your mind up. But I'm going to say he wants to get off the table as quickly as possible. So movement is D10 inches, so it can be variable. It can be anything from 2 to 20 inches. So he's rolled an 8 for his first move and 2 for the second, so he's going to move a total of 10 inches. There he is then, just running around the corner of the bank, but he hasn't noticed Otti Deneen, the lawman there, armed with a shotgun, just loitering behind the door of the livery stable. Next card is another 2, so it's the same character again. So he is just going to try again and get as far towards the edge of the table as he can. As I say, you don't have to announce both your actions at the beginning. So I've changed my mind because on his first roll he rolled 10 inches, so he's ended up here, and lo and behold, in the middle of the street confronting him is another lawman called Jehu Hole. So Banks Stilson, instead of carrying on moving, has spotted him, can't miss him, standing right in his way. So he is going to take a shot at Jehu Hole, see if he can shoot him down and get past him that way. Jehu, mind you, is not going to stand idly by and let him do that. So he's going to challenge him to a quick draw. Okay, so Jehu Hole has now spent his whole card. So you don't spend it, you keep it throughout the game, but it's now turned over, and being face down means he he has to forego his next action card in order to turn it back upright again. So the way this works is that you roll a d6 for each player, add this value here, so they're both going to be d6 plus 2. The highest roll gets to fire first. So white for lawmen, yellow for outlaws. And Jehu Hole will get to fire first of all. Okay, Jehu is going to try 2 shots. Because they're within 9 inches of one another, there is a 60% chance of hitting. Because it's a quick draw, however, and they're acting hastily, that's reduced down to 30% for the first shot. And we get 79, so a miss. And then the second shot is reduced down another 10%, so there's a 20% chance of hitting. And we get 54. So both his shots have missed. So we have to cross off 2 bullets there, and then I think Bank Stilson's going to do exactly the same thing. So he's got 30% chance of hitting on the first shot. No, 66, and then 20% on the second. No, 43. So they're firing wildly at one another. Haven't hit anything. Next card then, a 3, and that belongs to Emmett Navit. Okay, so Emmett Navit is this character here who in previous games using different rule sets has been a sort of gunslinger type. So I'd actually given him some characteristics, one of which is that he's a pistolier. So that will give him a slight better chance to hit if he's firing pistols, which he is. So he is going to fire a single shot. He's going to aim with one action and then fire a single shot at this character here. See if he can pick him off in a similar way to how this chap has ended up. Okay, so it's 10-inch range, which means that it's beyond 9 inches, so the target, who is a character named Darius Monroe, doesn't have the opportunity to quick draw, but it does make it slightly harder for the pistol to hit. It's 44% chance of hitting. Because Emmett Navit has aimed, that bumps it up to 54%. And because he is a pistolier, he goes up another 5% to 59%. I might mention at this stage as well that if you ever roll a 55, that is a misfire, regardless of whether it's a hit or not. So the shot counts, but it is a misfire. Okay, so 83, so nothing. The only result of that then was that I've crossed off one of the boxes on Emmett Navit's ammunition, and we're on to the next card to play, which is another 3. I did shuffle these cards, honestly. So I think I'm just going to try and do exactly the same thing again. Okay, so 59% to hit. 90. Wow. Oh well, that's Emmett Navit's 2 actions for this turn played. Jack, which is D. Snayers, who is another one of the outlaws in the bank. Okay, this is D. Snayers here. So he has got 2 pistols and the figure is carrying 1 in each hand. But for the purposes of this scenario, I'm going to say at the moment that his left hand is carrying the loot and one of the pistols is holstered. So all he's going to do is the same as the other chap, make 2 moves to get out of the bank and as far away as possible with the loot. Well, he didn't make it very far. He only rolled 5 inches. I forgot as well, I mean, I am going to, forget things, that to open and close the door actually takes 1 action as well. So that door's already been exited by the previous outlaw. So I think we'll just say we'll forego spending an action point on opening doors in this game. Or maybe we will in future for any other door but that one. An ace, that is the outlaw leader, Carl Talbot, who again is in the bank, not carrying any loot though. So there is Carl Talbot, so I'm just going to again move him out of the bank, see how far he can get. Don't have to worry so much about him getting loot off the table, but at the same time he might have to pick a bag up if it's dropped or something like that, so he's going to join the other outlaws escaping the table. So there he is. This is another game where, a bit like Tombstone, where you only have a 180-degree arc of line of sight, so you have to point him in a direction from which a threat is going to come to. It's not an issue with reacting to fire, but if you wanted to turn and fire, that would be, turning itself would be the equivalent of a movement. You can turn and move, but you can't turn and fire. Right, now that's the special event where a citizen or a bystander can get to act, so see what we can do with that. So this is a case in point where you draw a line from ear to ear, if you can imagine it, of the character. So this chap here, Banks Stilson, the outlaw, is within that 180-degree arc of this chap here, who does have a pistol. It's not drawn, however, because he was enjoying a drink in the Lucky Strike saloon. He's just come out to see what all the commotion is about, and he's a bit unhappy about Banks Stilson running off with some of the money that is deposited in the bank. So he is going to draw his pistol and take 3 shots at Banks Stilson, but Banks Stilson isn't appreciative of that, so he is going to challenge him to a quick draw, see if he can get a shot off at him before the citizen manages to shoot at him. So I'm going to, he has a action card of 2. I think it's reasonable to say that he has an action card of 0, because there's 1 card in the deck and it applies to all of the characters. So it's a d6 dice roll, adding 2 to Banks Stilson's dice roll. Yellow for the outlaws, white for the goodies. So it's 6 plus 2 is 8, but the citizen nearly got away with that. I don't know if I mentioned in the preamble of the game as well that any wound on any bystander or citizen, I'm going to count as incapacitating them for the game, so I'm not going to bother to move them at crawls or prone or anything like that. Okay, so Banks Stilson has 60% chance of hitting, but because it's a quick draw, that's halved, so it goes down to 30%. And it's 98, which means he misses. And then the citizen is firing 3 shots, as I say. Oh, I should, before I forget, I should cross off another shot on Banks Stilson's card. They spent another round of ammo. So 3 shots then, so it's 30% for the first one, 73, and then it's 20 for the next 2. 90, Oh, one. Yes, so he's managed to get a shot in and hit poor old Banks. So we roll on the rune chart now. 92 is he's hitting the left foot. He falls prone and half move only. And also I must remember that there are a number of wound chips to be deducted, which is 1d3. So that's one wound chip removed as well. So this is how Banks Stilson's card is at the moment then. So he's spent 3 bullets now. He's hitting the left foot, he's prone at the moment. The half move only will apply for the entire game now though, so it's slowed him down. He's going to have to limp off the table. And then we're on to turning the next card. Found a jack already, haven't we? I've forgotten who it was. D. Snayers again. Okay, so here's D. He's going to move, and then we'll see how far he gets. If he manages to move something like 10 inches, might get him to take a shot at this guy. Otherwise, if he doesn't get very far, I'll move him again. Yeah, he didn't get very far in the first move, so he's used his second action to move as well. So he's just by the gate to the sort of livery compound. Draw another card, and this time it is the turn. This is Jehu Hole, and if you remember, he had a quick draw earlier, so his whole card is upside down, face down, so now we just turn that over. He has to forego this action, but it does mean he can quick draw again if he needs to. And the next one up is the Joker, which is Alan Bourlier. Okay, so Alan Bourlier is upstairs, just emerging from the top floor of the sheriff's office, and he is 8 inches away from Widow's Lees, but behind him. So Widow's Lees doesn't have a line of sight on him, which means he can't use the quick draw ability on him. So Alan Bourlier is going to aim for his first turn and then fire 3 shots down onto Widow's Lees. Okay, normally be 60% chance of hitting, but aiming bumps it up to 70, but then the second and third shots goes down 10%. So 70% for the first shot and then 60 for the next 2. So 30 is a hit, and that wounds in the spine. So Widow's Lees falls prone, can only crawl from now on, and suffers 1d3 plus 3 wounds. So he's going to suffer 2 wounds plus 3, 5 wound chips removed. Second shot, so this is now 60% chance of hitting. 50, yeah, hits again. Oh, hang on. Because he's fallen prone, it's to hit a prone target is -10. Oh yeah, so he's just done it. So that would have been 50. So he's just done it. So that hits 24, which is hits in the left hand, can't hold object. And the third shot, so 50% chance of hitting. .93, so that one actually misses. Right, so Widow's Lees is not in a good way now, because if you can't hold an object in your left hand, that means you drop whatever's in it, and also you can't use two-handed weapons. So he's dropping his rifle, and won't be able to use it now. Now, this is more of a kind of role-playing style game, as I say, so I should really have a depiction of that rifle. I'm thinking I have actually got some rifle models. I can't remember where I got them from, but they're not painted up yet. So I'm just going to say that the rifle is gone. Cross through that completely, and the pistol is, if you remember, is still in its holster. So he's going to have to draw that if he wants to do any more shooting, and all that shooting will be done from a prone position as well, which isn't a penalty. But he's only able to crawl around at the moment, so he's in a pretty bad way. And did I? Just trying to remember. No, I don't think I did. I think he gets another D3. Wound chips removed. I don't think I did that, so let's see what we get on that. Only one, but he is now down to the red chips, which means he's mortally wounded. So, as I say, not in a good way at all. Next up a 9, which is Lackey Schaeferman. Is it Schaeferman or Schaefersman, who is the sheriff, who is currently in the sheriff's office. Okay, so there's Lackey Schaefersman, and he's going to move, obviously, has to move out of the office. So I'm just going to roll a D10, see how far he gets. Oh, and he's only rolled a 1, so he hasn't even got out of the office. Not going to bother with the door, action for opening the door. So I'm going to use another dice roll, and he's rolled 9 this time. So he's going to move a total of 10 inches. Which will get him to... I think what he's actually going to do is sneak up onto the boardwalk here. I can cheat a little bit and move that woman. Yeah, so he's now on the boardwalk, so he's trying to sneak up behind these two characters, but Widden's Lees, as we've already seen, is lying prone at the moment anyway. 10 is Otti Deneen, who is another lawman. Okay, so Otti Deneen is the lawman with the shotgun who's standing in the doorway of the livery stable. He's 15 inches, I think it was 15 inches, just measured it. Yeah, 15 inches away from the outlaw leader. So shotgun isn't particularly effective at that range. I want to try and get a little bit closer, so I'm going to move and then see how far I get, and hope that I get a lot closer to the outlaw in the first movement. Here we go then, hope for a high roll. 6, so that will get into 9 inches, so yeah, he's going to move and then fire, I think fire both barrels, there's no point in messing around. Right, there we are, he's 9 inches now, so I've changed my mind a little bit about what I'm going to do. I'm only going to fire one barrel, and the reason for that is there's a 60% chance of hitting, but if you move in the turn then that's halved. So the first barrel has only got a 30% chance of hitting, and the second one is a 20% chance. So just going to fire one barrel and keep the other one so that he doesn't have to reload to get another shot later on. 30%. And oh, done it. I think you can see that, can you? Yep, 15%. So that's a hit, and it's a hit on the right leg and 1d3 of damage. So 2 wound chips off as well. So there's the target, the outlaw leader, Carl Talbot, and he's lost the wound chip. He is a tough character though, so he began with an additional wound chip, so he's now lost that. But being hit in the right leg means he can only move at half speed from now on. 4 is Fremont Gunnels, who is another lawman. It's just off camera there. That's Fremont Gunnels there. Fremont there is 15 inches away from, what was his name? Emmett Navit. So he is going to take a shot. He's going to aim for his first action and then take 2 shots at Emmett. So a rifle at that range has a 50% chance of hitting. Aiming puts it up to 60%, but the second shot will go back down to 50. First shot then, 60% chance. 34, yeah, that's a hit. And the location of the wound is in the heart. He is dead. So still spends 2 shots to do that, but Emmett Navit is out of the game very early on. Five is Rice McGee, who is another outlaw who's still in the bank, the only outlaw still in the bank. So there is Rice McGee. So I'm going to just move him to begin with out of the back door of the bank, see how far he gets, and then make a decision after that. So he's going to move 10 inches, which isn't bad. So he now is a good position to take 1 shot at Otti Deneen. The range, if it's within 9 inches, and it is, means that Otti Deneen gets an opportunity to quick draw. You can quick draw with anything. Doesn't mean necessarily you're drawing a pistol from its holster. So he is going to use his hole card, which is upright at the moment, to try and outdraw the outlaw of Rice McGee. So they've both got action value of 2, so we're adding 2 to each of the dice rolls. White for lawmen, yellow for outlaws. And it's a tie. That means that they actually do fire simultaneously. So we'll work out the shotgun first of all, I think. It's lucky for Otti Deneen that he didn't fire both barrels. So at 9 inches, the shotgun is pretty damaging. Oh no, it's not. It has to be within 6 inches. So it's a 60% chance of hitting, halved because they're quick drawing, and nothing else. So 30%. No, it's a miss. So that's accounted for the other shell in the shotgun. Just cross that off, and then you only use one of the primary modifiers. One of the primary modifiers is moving halves, and another is quick drawing halves. But you only deduct one primary modifier. So this is a 60% chance of hitting, halved down to 30 for the outlaw firing. No, it doesn't quite do it. 37. Yeah, so it was that was worth spending that other shell and quick drawing, because it does sort of prevent, in other circumstances, not this one, it does prevent an opponent getting shots off at you. It would have still been half movement because Rice McGee had moved, but it's an example about how you can preempt someone with quick drawing. So it's quite a nice mechanism, that. Ace is the Carl Talbot, the outlaw leader again. Right, Carl Talbot then is going to stay where he is, not move, and aim with his first action at Otti Deneen, and then fire the maximum number of bullets he can, which is 3. So it'll be 60% boosted to 70% for the aim shot for the first one, and then the next 2 will be both 60. First roll needing 70 then, 91, and then the next 2 needing 60. 21, that's a hit, yeah, and that hits 64. Spine, so Otti Deneen falls prone and from now on can crawl only, and he suffers 1d3 plus 3 wound chips, so he loses 4 wound chips. And then the third shot has a 60% chance of hitting. 47, yeah, so that hits in the left leg, so from now on he can only move half moves only, and he gets 1d3 wound chips damage. 3 more wound chips, it's unlucky. So Otti Deneen is in a bad way there. He can only crawl at half speed for the rest of the game. So I think, if I remember, it's D3 movement. Not sure, I'll have to look that up, but we'll find that out when we come to it. King is Aloysius Burton, who is prone at the moment, and because he was hit in the gut, and he's only able to crawl. Okay, so these 2 figures are pretty well crippled now. So what Aloysius has is a marksman ability, so I'm going to make use of that. He's 10 inches away from Widden's Lees, so that would be normally 44% chance of hitting. However, because Widden's Lees is prone as well, that reduces it down to 34%. So he's going to aim with his first action, so that takes it back up to 44%. Yeah, 44%, and then he is going to make a cold shot, which normally reduces the chances by 30%, but because he's a marksman, only reduces it by 15%. So in other words, we've got 44, 54, back down to 44, minus 15 is 29%, so it's just over 1 in 4 chance that he can hit him, and if he does hit him, he can nominate the area of the body that he hits, so he's obviously going to shoot him in the head and shoot him dead. So we need 29%. Yeah, done it, 18%. So Widden's Lees bites the dust. Just realised there is a way of drawing this game. It's if 2 of the markers say get off the table for the outlaws, 2 of the loot tokens, but they have fewer figures on the table, then that would be a draw. So there is a way of winning or drawing for each side. Anyway, next card, Ace. So that is another Ace, another card for Carl Talbot, who has 3 cards in the pack, which is why there seem to be a lot of aces turning up. Okay, so Carl Talbot then is going to move along the side of the bank, see how far he gets, but the aim is to get to this corner here and then be facing the sheriff as he comes along the boardwalk. So I'll do the roll on camera so you can see how far he gets. 4 inches, that's not going to be enough, so he's going to take his second action as another move, so he can move a total of 9 inches. That doesn't quite get him to you know, line of sight of the sheriff, but he's going to sort of like stay behind the corner there and wait to see what happens. Yeah, in a future turn I might be able to declare a bushwhack, but that is an action in itself and he's already used up 2 actions, so we'll have to wait and see. But there is a way of announcing a bushwhack, so you have to tell the judge. So clearly in a solo game I can't keep that a secret, but yeah, we'll play that if the opportunity arises later in the game. That looks familiar. Oh, that's Aloysius Burton again. So I think we're just going to move him, yeah, just move him at a crawl 2 moves towards the Lucky Strike Saloon, I think. So crawling, you move at D3 rate, so the first action he moves 1 inch, and the second he moves 3 inches, so he's going to move a total of 4 inches. That gets him to there, so he has now got line of sight on Carl Talbot. 7 is... I haven't had him activated yet. Theophilus Sauter. He's an outlaw who is stationed on the roof of the Lucky Strike Saloon. Okay, so Theophilus here is 25 inches away from this figure coming out of the sheriff's office. So he is going to take 1 action to aim at him. With a rifle, there's at that range, there's 50% chance of hitting. So he's then going to fire 2 shots. So the aiming will boost the first shot up by 10%, and then the second shot has a 10% penalty. So in other words, 60% chance of hitting on the first shot and 50% on the second. 60% chance for the first one then. 42, yeah. And that hits on in the spine again, another spine shot. Full prone, crawl out only, 1d3 plus 3 wounds. Oh, 6 wounds, so that makes him mortally wounded. Second shot now. It was going to be 50%, but because the target is now prone, it reduces it another 10%, so this is a 40% chance of hitting. Yeah, 3, another hit. And this is on 42. Well, that is a hit in the back, a deep wound, full prone, half move only, 1d3 plus 3 wound chips. He only has 3 wound chips left now, the 3 red ones. That means all his wound chips are diminished, and he is also dead, killed. So that character's name was Alan Borlier, but he is now out of the game. Next up we have Fremont Gunnels again. Right, well, Fremont is here, so he's at the opposite end of the table now to where all the action is. But if he goes off that way, I'm going to get him to move twice, but if he moves this way, he'll be a target for Theophilus on the roof of the Lucky Strike Saloon. So I'm going to get him to move in this direction here and approach the other side of the table from this side of the buildings. Okay, he's just made it to this point here, which is out of sight of that rifleman up on the roof. So that's the end of his turn. Right, that one is another one for Rice McGee. So Rice McGee is here. He can afford to ignore Otti Deneen now, who is needs to reload his shotgun anyway, and is on the floor, hitting the spine and the leg. So he's going to make a double move and catch up with the other two outlaws carrying the loot off the table there. Right, there we are. He rolled 13 inches in total, so he's the character at the back of those three there. Managed to catch up with the other two. 8. Who's 8? Ah, 8 is Darius Monroe. So I thought Darius Monroe had already, he's perfectly healthy looking at his sheets. So I thought he had already, I'm sure he has fired at least one shot. I must have forgotten to tick it off. So I'm going to, apologies to him if I'm wrong, but I'm going to cross off one. Oh, I know how I can check this. I can look through the cards, and if he has been activated, if there's an 8 in the discard pile. No, there isn't. This is the first time. This is the first time that he's been activated. Okay, so I'm going to make up my mind what to do with him. Okay, might as well mix it up a little bit and take advantage of the role-playing flavour of this set of rules. So this is Darius Monroe here. I know for a fact that now that he hasn't, been activated yet. So there's still another card in the pack for him to turn up. So he has seen Theophilus, was it? The chap on the roof. Yeah, Theophilus Sauter brutally gunned down Alan Borlier, his comrade. So he is going to make a double move towards the Lucky Strike Saloon and try and go into the saloon, climb the floors up onto the roof and confront Theophilus. Well, he threw fantastic 2 dice. He managed to move 19 inches, so he's now inside the saloon, and his next move probably won't get him up onto the roof. But he's cut off Theophilus's route of escape. I'm not playing the rule that the rules as though you can leap off high points and so on. It's not something I'm terribly keen on. I'll talk a bit more about that when I come to sum up all these 4 sets of rules. So I'm just going to have him realistically climbing up onto the roof so that he can try and get revenge. Sure enough, there's the next card, which is the other 8. So we can move Darius Monroe again. So I'm going to deduct 3 inches for climbing the stairs and 3 inches for climbing the ladder onto the roof through the trapdoor on the roof. So let's see what Darius's total movement allowance will be. 1 inch plus 10 inches, so 11 inches minus 6 inches. Well, yeah, 11 inches, probably he'll only get onto the first floor, so that'll be 8 inches up onto the first floor. Right, so he's just got beyond the top of the flight of steps there, and it'll be the next round of the deck before that situation can progress any further. 7. Oh, is Theophilus Salter on the roof? So, I have to think about this. Yeah, I'm going to play it that Theophilus, because that was a huge distance that Darius Monroe managed to cover. So I'm going to say that Theophilus saw him, didn't manage to get a shot off at him, but is aware now that he's in the saloon and climbing the steps to get to him. So he is going to make, his first action is going to be make a move to go to the trapdoor and descend the steps. So that's about an inch, so he will need at least 4 inches to do that. And then if he gets to the bottom of the ladder, then make a mind about what he's obviously going to shoot at Darius, but let's see how far he gets first of all. So he needs a minimum of 4. 7, yeah, he's done it. Okay, so they're both on the first floor of the saloon now, the upstairs of the saloon. Theophilus's movement got him to within an inch of Darius Monroe, and he's now going to fire his rifle at him, but Darius is going to try and beat him on the quick draw. So both players now have to roll a d6. They've both got an action value of 2, so it's effectively who wins the roll on a d6. Yellow for Theophilus, white for Darius. And it's Darius beats him to the draw, so he gets to fire first. Because it's up close, an inch, Darius has an 80% chance of hitting, but it's quick draw, so that's halved to 40%. And he gets 14, so he does hit Theophilus as he charges at him. He hits him in the groin, so Theophilus falls prone, now can only crawl, and he suffers 1d3 of wounds, which is a 1, so he gets 1 wound. Theophilus is still able to take his shot. With a rifle at that range, he's got 60% chance of hitting. It doesn't improve because it's close up. And again, it's a quick draw, so that gets halved. So he's got 30% chance of hitting. And he gets it, 21. So he hits Darius 68, which is in the right leg. So Darius can now only move half moves, and he gets 1d3 of wound chits removed, so he loses 2 wounds. 10 is Otti Deneen, so he's already played, he has to forsake this turn because he already played a quick draw, so I've just turned his whole card back over. 9 is Lackey Schaffersman, who's the sheriff. Okay, so Carl Talbot hasn't had a chance to set up his ambush, so Lackey Schaffersman is now going to try and get to this corner here and shoot at him. So I've just measured it, it's 9 inches. So depending on what he rolls on his first roll, he might be able to get a shot in at Carl Talbot. So first turn is movement, and he only manages 6, so he's got to roll again for his second action, and that's another 6. So he can stop at 9 inches and just confront Carl Talbot. Right, there we are. So they're both within an inch of one another, which is up close and pretty deadly when shooting with pistols. I'm not sure, but I think both characters have now spent all their action cards for this shuffle of the deck, so it might depend on who turns up the first action card in the next reshuffle. Joker, that is poor old Alan Burier, who is dead. Oh, 9. That is Lucky Schaefersman again. He hadn't, because he's got 3 action cards. He can now shoot at point blank range at Carl Talbot, who is eligible, to do a quick draw. So they're both going to see who takes a quick draw. So white is Lucky Schaefersman, yellow Carl Talbot. And Lucky Schaefersman just gets it by 1 pip. Okay, the observant may have noticed as well that when I moved Carl Talbot along the side of the banker way back, he's got a hit in his right leg, so he should have been moving at half movement rate, but I didn't spend his full allowance, so I think he would have reached it anyway. So we'll play it like that as this game has developed since I made the mistake. So Lucky Schaefersman gets to fire first. He's firing a pistol with an 80% chance of hitting, but it's quick drawing, so that means it's half to 40%. 67, he misses. So Carl Talbot does the same, 40% chance of hitting, and he misses as well, so they both miss in their panic. But now, that was only Lucky Schaefersman's first action, so he is going to shoot again, and this time round Carl Talbot can't quick draw because he's now spent that option until he gets an action card and can turn his hold card back over again. So it's an 80% chance to hit at that range. I'm wondering whether to risk 30% of that to make it a cooled shot, in which case Lucky can place the shot wherever he likes, so straight between the eyes. So I think I'll do that. So 50% chance of hitting. 82. So he would have missed anyway. So it's over 80. So nothing lost. Getting near the end of the deck now. Queen is Jehu Hole, who had an activation at the very beginning of the turn, and it's got right to the end before he gets the second one. Okay, so here is Jehu Hole rapidly being approached by the 3 bank robbers with their loot. So he isn't going to aim at Bank Stilson, who is still on the ground from having been hit on the foot. So he's going to take a shot, well, he's going to aim and take 3 shots as his second action at D. Snayers there. So it's within 9 inches, making it 60% chance of hitting, but he's aimed with his first action, gives him 70%, and then the 2 subsequent shots will be 10% less, so 60% for the second 2. Here we go, 70% for the first one. Yeah, that hits, and it hits in the gut. So D. Snayers falls prone and can only crawl from now on, and gets D3 plus 3 wounds. So 1 plus 3 is 4 wounds. Second shot, this now has a 60% chance of hitting. Again, he hits, and this time the wound is to the left foot. It's a graze, so he falls prone, but oh, yep, sorry. I should have deducted 10 for him being prone now, but I think the roll was low enough for it still to be a hit. So he falls prone, and it's just a grace, so I don't have to mark that on his notes to keep track of that. But he does get another 1 wound. And then remembering that he's prone now for the 3rd shot, so it'll be a 50% chance of hitting. 34, he hits again, and this time 95 is left foot, full prone, half move only, got all that already, and 1d3 of, actually I will write that he's hitting the left foot, because if he gets hit in the, sorry, in the left foot, because if he gets hit in the right as well, I might play it that he can't move at all. Yeah, so 1 wound off him. This looks like the final card, and it belongs to Widdensley, who we know was shot dead outside the bank. So now we turn the deck over, reshuffle them and carry on. Right, start of a new deck then. And we begin with Darius Monroe, who is in the saloon fighting out with Theophilus, but he has already spent this turn because he used it as a quick draw in his last action. So we just turn for the moment. We just turn his whole card over and carry on and hope that he gets another card soon. And the next one up is, I think, yeah, definitely Theophilus Salter, who's his protagonist, facing him in the Lucky Strike saloon. Right, so Theophilus is going to aim, even though they're only an inch apart, he's going to aim his rifle to improve his chances of hitting, and then fire, but Darius is now able, because his whole card is face up again, he is able to quick draw, so I'm going to turn that card back down, and he's going to sacrifice his next turn in order to try and get his shot in first before Theophilus fires. So they're both equal action amounts, so it's just a straightforward winner of a d6 roll, yellow for Theophilus, white for Darius. Darius wins it easily. So now he had an 80% chance of hitting, but it's quick draw, so that's reduced down to half, so 40% chance of hitting. 24, he does it. And he hits him. In the groin. Yeah, again I was forgetting to look at the notes because Theophilus already has that wound and he was prone, so I think the roll was low enough, it would have been a 10% reduction, so I think it was still sufficient to hit him in the groin, but he doesn't, you know, change his status other than that he now loses another d3 wound chits, which is 2 more wound chits off him. Okay, so again he is now able to shoot back, so he has aimed his shot, so take him up from 60 to 70, but that gets halved to 35 now because it's a quick draw, and he misses, he only gets a 98. Right, there we go then. So Theophilus can only crawl about now, but we know there's another card in the pack waiting to come up for him to spend. whereas Darius is wounded in the leg or the foot, I can't remember which, so he can only move half moves from now on. So physically he's in slightly better shape, but he has now sacrificed his next turn in that quick draw, so he can expect more fire, whereas Theophilus is safe now for the rest of this deck. That is Otti Deneen, who is hit in the spine, can only crawl from now on, and can only move at half move because he's hitting the left leg, and is also spent half his his shotgun needs reloading. So I'm gonna spend one action to reload his shotgun, and then I'm going to look up the rules on self-administered first aid, because I think he can recover some wound chips if he does that. Okay, so the first action then is going to reload, so you're allowed to reload up to 3 shots, so the shotgun's only got 2 anyway, so we can clear that. And then the rule on first aid is that once per game you can attempt to tie a tourniquet or something like that, so you have to pass a hard skill test, so you've got to get 25 or below. .34, so he fails to administer first aid to himself. If he had done, he could have restored D3 wound chits, but it's not gonna happen for him. That is Lucky Schaefer's men, so that critical situation around the corner of the bank. Okay, that was a critical turn of cards, because Carl Talbot is still unable to quick draw, because he quick drawed in the last turn and he hasn't had a card turn up so that he can turn his whole card back face up. That means he can't respond to this. Lucky Schaefer's man is within an inch of him, on the table that is, so he's close up in range. So he has got an 80, he's got 2 shots left in his, no, 4 actually, he's got 4 left. So he is going to fire, he's going to aim with his first action and then take 3 shots at Carl Talbot. And he's also, for the first shot at least, going to make it a cooled shot, so he's going to try and plant the bullet right between Carl Talbot's eyes. So there's an 80% chance of hitting, goes up to 90 with the aim, and then down to 60 with the cooled shot. 40, he does it easily. So Carl Talbot is shot between the eyes and he's dead. Okay, even though Lucky Schaefer's men killed Carl Talbot with the first shot, you still spend 3 shots, because he announced that he was going to shoot 3 times. So he's got 1 shot left in the chamber of the pistol in his right hand, but he's also holding a second unfired pistol in his left hand. Well, look at that, another move for Lucky Schaefer's man, the sheriff. So what can we do with that? Now, it would have been nice had there been an allied figure within 12 inches of Lucky Schaefer's man. I mean, there is, but it's not a figure that it's Aloysius who's crawling along on the ground. So it's, otherwise I could have given that card away, because he has the leader ability to play with another player, but we can't use that. So all I'm going to do is turn him so he's facing a character there, forgotten his name, Rice McGee, and then take a single shot to use up that last shell in the in the magazine of the 6-shooter he's holding in his right hand. So unfortunately, just even turning that small amount counts as movement, so it halves the percentage chance of hitting. So it would have, he's within 9 inches, it would have been 60%, so he's got 30% chance of hitting. 53, no, so he's spent the shell for nothing. That is Jahoo Hole. Okay, so Jahoo Hole here has also only got one shot left before he has to reload. So he is going to aim and shoot again, also at Rice McGee. The other two characters are both on the floor, so currently they're difficult harder to hit. So he's going to take aim and then take a single shot at Rice McGee. So it will be a 70% chance of hitting. I'm pretty sure that's, yeah, it's within 9 inches. Oh, and Rice McGee could, if he wants to burn his next turn. I don't think he will. Oh, actually I have to think about this. Yeah, because there's such a high chance of hitting, I think it's worth Rice McGee trying to beat Jahoo to the draw. So they've both got action value of 2, so it's a straightforward roll on d6. So white for Jahoo Hole and yellow for Rice McGee. And Rice McGee wins it, so it was worth it. So he is now 60% chance of hitting, but halved because it's a quick draw. So yeah, he's perfectly alright other than that. So 30% chance of hitting. 70, no, he fails. And then Jahoo the same, 30% chance of hitting, and he fails as well. That belongs to Aloysius Burton, who can only crawl. So again, I think yeah, I think he's just going to crawl towards the fighting, so he can move on a d3, and he's going to move twice. So there he is. You have to imagine him crawling, but he moved 5 inches, so he got a little distance nearer. That is Carl Talbot, who has been shot dead. That is Lucius again, so yeah, we'll call him again. The closer he can get, the more shooting he can do at close range, and maybe still be of some significance in the gunfight. Right, there he is. So that's both his cards burnt for this deck, but he's now within 9 inches of near Rice McGee, and he's also got marksman ability, which makes him more accurate with his shooting. So if the deck gets reshuffled again, he's in a good spot there now. 7 is back to the fight in the Lucky Strike Saloon. That's Theophilus Salter. Okay, so Theophilus is going to aim and then fire 3 shots at Darius, who can't respond now because he's already burnt his whole card. So he has to turn that over, and I think he's already spent all his action cards this turn. So anyway, 3 shots. The first one will be 60% to hit plus 10 for the aim is 70%, and then the next 2 after that will be 60%. 70% for this one then. 93, no, that's a miss. And then 2 at 60. 90. And 24, so we hit on the third shot. And it hits in 27. Left hand, graze, flinch, and 1 wound chip. Now I think flinch means something, I'll just have to look that up. Yeah, flinch just means that you drop anything you're holding in that hand, and as he's holding his pistol in his right hand, he got away with that just with the graze to his left hand. And I think all the cards regarding that situation in the saloon have now been spent, so that's going to go on for another shuffle of the decks. I am keeping track of all the ammunition spent, by the way, off camera, just crossing through the boxes as we go, so I'm trying to keep that in mind and keep a proper account. Who is that? Oh, yeah, that's Whiddon's Lees, who is dead. And that is Banks Stilson, who is currently prone and hitting the left foot, so he can only make a half move. So he is going to get up and make a half move, which is 1 action, and then make a half move towards the table edge. So he rolled a 10, so he actually managed to move 5 inches, so he's now within an inch of Jehu Hole. Oh, 2 again. So yeah, that's back Stilson again. So I think, well, because he's so close to Jehu Hole, he's going to take the trouble to shoot him while he's there rather than try and move off the board. Might be a mistake, but he's got enough shots in his chamber still to try that. So he is going to aim for his first action and then make a cooled shot, so you can only fire 1 shot if you make a cooled shot, but if he hits he can choose the location of the hit. So it's 80% because it's close up, plus 10 for aiming makes it 90, and then minus 30 brings it down to 60, so he's got to get 60 or less. 28, he does it, so he plugs Jehu Hole in between the eyes. So those 3 outlaws, it appears like they've got a clear run off the table now, but in this game you can move such large distances. You can, potentially in one activation you can move up to 20 inches, so it's quite possible that the lawmen are going to catch them up. Depends a bit on the turn of the cards and what happens. That belongs to D. Snayers, who is currently hitting the gut and can only crawl and can only make half moves because he's hitting the left foot and he's mortally wounded as well. But he's still carrying some loot, so he's going to make 2 half moves at crawling rate to see how far he can go. So it's a D3 halved again because he's injured in the foot. So that will be 2 halved goes down to 1, and that is 3 halved goes down, I think you round up, so it goes down to 2, so he can crawl 3 inches towards the table edge. Right, so he might make it, you never know. He's got another, I think we call that 7 inches. So if he can keep going 7 inches, he's dragged the loot off the table. Carl Talbot, who's dead. And the citizens of the town get a chance to intervene. So this character here, who we know now has drawn his pistol, can afford the luxury of aiming at Rice McGee and then firing a single aimed shot. So he'll have a 70% chance of hitting him. 97. Unlucky. That is D. Snares, who can only crawl at half move. Yeah, that's the chap who crawled along before, so let's see how far he can get this time. So 3 inches halved is 1.5, rolls up to 2. And 1 halved runs up to 1, so another 3 inches. It's been a bit of a break in recording, so I had to recharge the camera's battery, so you might notice change in lighting conditions. But overnight I have been thinking about my criteria for determining draws, and I've realised, of course, that it's harder for the outlaws to draw. If they don't win, they're more likely to lose than to draw, because they are deliberately moving figures off the table. So I can't really count, the number of figures left on the table as being the determining factor if only two of the loot tokens have been removed. So what I'm going to do is say that if 2 of the loot tokens are either returned to the bank or taken off the table, then it's the number of opponents' figures that you have killed that will make it. If you've killed more figures than your opponent, then that will be a win for you. Otherwise, it's a draw, and I think that'll work a little bit better. So anyway, let's carry on with the game. The next one up is Queen, which is Jehu Hole again, and he is dead. I haven't taken the cards out the pack yet. I was going to do that as they turned up. So next up we have another deceased member of the lawmen, Alan Bourlier, and then that is Lackey Schaefersman, the sheriff. Now then, the sheriff has no ammunition in his pistol that he's holding in his right hand. So if he activates, he's either going to have to reload the pistol in his right hand or swap the pistols over. It's all taking action events, but he has got this quality of leader, which you might as well employ, which is that if there's an allied figure, and there now is, Aloysius Burton, who is crawling along in a pretty awful state, but that's not going to impair his shooting abilities. So the sheriff is allowed to transfer the card to an ally within 12 inches of him. So he's going to do that, and Aloysius is the one who is going to take a shot at Rice McGee, because he has got the marksman ability, which allows him to make a cooled shot more easily. So he is going to aim, take one shot and make it a cooled shot at Rice McGee. Okay, so he has got 55% chance of hitting Rice McGee exactly where he aims. 50, so he does it. So he shoots Rice McGee dead. So Rice McGee is killed dead, and there is now a loot token left on the ground there for anyone to pick up. Uh, 10 is Otti Deneen, the lawman with the shotgun. Okay, well, Otti Deneen is only able to crawl now, and he's also injured in the leg, which means he's moving at half speed. So the logical thing for him to do is to crawl as far as he can towards that loot token and try and collect it. So he only managed to move 3 inches, and he's still got 10 inches to go. But it's on the cards that he will be able to reach that loot token eventually. And 4 is Fremont Gunnels. So Fremont no longer has to worry about Theophilus shooting at him from the roof of the Lucky Strike Saloon. So he is going to return and go that way as far as he can, try and get a bead on one of the outlaws. So he managed a grand total of 6 inches, so he didn't get very far at all. That is the deceased Rice McGee. That is the deceased Carl Talbot. A lot of dead outlaws now. That is another one for Fremont Gunnels then. So he can make another move. So he moved 10 inches this time, so he's now just passing the front door of the bank. That's Rice McGee again. So he's now dead. His cards turning out too late for him. And that is Darius Monroe, whose whole card is face down because he quick drew. So all he can do, he's forfeited his action, so all he can do is turn the whole card face up again. So we're at the end of the deck again, have to reshuffle. Card deck is a lot slimmer now, so a lot fewer figures on the table. And the first one to activate is Banks Stilson, the outlaw who is hit in the left foot and can only move half moves. This figure here is Banks Stilson. He's very close to the edge of the table now. The edge of the table is a line across there, and he needs to go 6 inches will do it. So he needs to move 6 inches, so his actions are going to be 2 moves, and hopefully he'll be off the table. Let's roll the dice and see what we get. First move, 7 halved is 3.5, that rounds up to 4. So he needs another 2 inches. Oh no, 1, he hasn't done it. He's only managed to move 5 inches. So he desperately needs another card to turn up before someone shoots him in the back, just to get over the line there. If I remember, there were a pair of 2s next to one another in the deck in the last round, so let's see if I've shuffled them adequately, or that's still the case. Yeah, it is shuffled properly now, so that is D. Snayers, the other outlaw. He is crawling along and also hit in the leg, so he can only move half speed, so he is not probably, well, maybe he'll get off, I don't know, let's see. So there he is. and I would say he needs, I'll be generous and say 4 inches. It's sort of like 4.5. So we're going to say 4 inches. Give the Outlaws a bit of a break. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to win the game now, because even if they get these 2 off, they've suffered a lot more casualties. So it would be a draw. Let's see anyway. Okay, first move is D3, so that would be rounded down to 2, and then it's halved, so that is 1 inch, and that is rounded down to 2, and then halved is another inch, so he only gets to move 2 inches. So there we are. They're both of them teetering on the brink of the table, but not quite there. A citizen. This could be crucial. Okay, now this citizen who's been getting involved the whole game has to turn. I think this is probably more sensible than him moving to the loot counter, trying to pick that up. We'll leave that for Otti Deneen. But he has to turn in order to fire at Rice McGee. I just measured it, it's 9 inches, so that would normally be a 60% chance of hitting, but because he's moved, that gets halved down, so he's got a 30% chance of shooting and hitting Rice McGee. 13, he does it. Where does he hit him? In the spine, so Rice McGee falls prone, can now only crawl, so he's going to have to crawl over the line, and he gets D3 plus 3 wound chits. So that is 2 plus 3 is 5, so we remove 5 wound chits from Rice McGee. Sorry, that wasn't Rice McGee, that was Banks Stilson, who we've just hit. So he has got plenty of wound chits left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's now down to mortally wounded, which means he can only crawl. So like D. Snayers, he's going to have to crawl that final inch or 2 to get the loot away. So that is D. Snayers again. So he is mortally wounded now as well, and crawling along. So let's see if we can get that other inch of movement and get him over the line. Yeah, I'm being thick because don't even need to roll dice. He's bound to roll a minimum of 1, so he's got 2 actions, so he can move twice. So he is off the table. Crawling, mortally wounded, but he's got the loot away. Next up we have Aloysius Burton, the marksman. So there he is, and you can see keep forgetting these people's names. Banks Stilson in the distance, but that citizen is blocking his line of sight, so he's going to have to move at least once, and he's crawling along. So I'll roll the dice off camera, but he's moving at D3, and yeah, just D3, and he's rolled a 6, so he manages to move 3 inches. Let's see where he gets to. Okay, so he's now got just about line of sight. Not going to hit the citizen now, and it's 15 inches. So that would normally be 44%. You only take one of the primary modifiers off, so it's definitely halved because he's moved, and also the target is crawling, so he's prone. So it's only a 22% chance of hitting, but the way the lawman's luck is going, this could well hit. 42, no, the luck has dried up. Oh, and it's him again. So he can take aim now and improve his chances. Yeah, it's still not going to be a brilliantly easy shot because the second of the two primary modifiers still applies, because the target is still crawling, so still prone. So at that distance, aiming, it would be 54% chance. Oh, hang on, you take the primary modifier off first. So it starts at 44%, goes down to 22, and then back up to 10%, back up 10% to 32, because Aloysius has aimed. So 32%. 91, no. That is Darius Monroe, who's fighting it out inside the Lucky Strike saloon. Right, so I'm wondering what to do here, what chances to take, because there is an 80% chance of hitting at that range. Just make sure he's still got ammunition in his weapon. Yeah, plenty of ammo. So 80% chance of hitting. So I could aim, which would increase that to 90%, but the target is prone, so that takes it down to 80% again. If I were to make a cooled shot, that would take it down to 50%, but it would finish, what was his name, Theophilus, off. So 50-50 chance. I think I'm going to do it. Say 50% chance and he's dead. 100. The opposite of what I wanted. So I think that was probably worth a go. Oh, and another. It's Darius Monroe again. So we're going to do exactly the same. Repeat that risk. Here we go. Then this is like a nail-biting finish. 4, yeah. So Theophilus Sorter is also shot dead as he lies on the ground by the lawman Darius Monroe. That means then that the outlaws can't possibly win the game, but they can still pull a draw if Banks Stilson manages to get off the table. So he only needs one more move to get off the table. So if the lawmen do manage to cut him down with a shot before that happens, then the lawman will eventually be able to pick up the 2 loot tokens and return them to the bank. So they would then have won the game because they have killed 5 of the 7 outlaws. That belongs to Theophilus Sorter, so he's just been killed. And that belongs to Ossie Deneen, who is crawling along towards that loot marker. So I'll just roll his dice and move him off camera. So he only managed another 2 inches, so there he is, and that's his object of intention. Lucky Schaefersman, the sheriff. So yeah, I think I know what I'm going to do. Just show you. Okay, so again he's got the leader ability, so he's going to give his card to Aloysius here to use, and Aloysius is going to aim. Actually, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference who fires, thinking about it. Yeah, I'm going to take another gamble. I'm going to do this. Aloysius is going to fire, and the range is 15 inches, so that is 44% chance of hitting. Aiming takes it up to 54, but because he's got the marksman ability, he can make a cooled shot, so he can aim directly at an area of the body. So he's going to aim at Bank Stilson's head, and he only suffers a 15% penalty for that, not the 30% like the normal figures do. So what would that take him down to? 54, 39%. So there is a 39% chance that he can end the game here by shooting Banks Stilson dead. 39%. This is now biting stuff. 24, he does it. That is it, game over. There we are then. So there are 2 loot tokens left on the table. You know, we can assume that they are easy to pick up for the lawman now, return to the bank. So I won't play all that through, that would be a little bit tedious. And having got the 2 back to the bank, you then look at the number of opponent's figures that you've killed, and the lawmen have only lost 2 figures, but the outlaws have lost 1, 2, 3, 6 figures. So, and you know, so that's no contest. Lawmen win, and that is the end of the game, and the end, probably the end of this series of comparisons of Wild West skirmish games. I say probably because What a Cowboy by Too Fat Lardies is in the offing. It's going to be out sometime this year. What I'll do is probably leave this table set up until I need the space for another game or something, and you know, wait and see if it comes out in the near future, and give that a try as well. It looks, I've seen a video, the Eccentric Man put a video up of a little bit of a description of a game of it he played pre-release. Up at some kind of convention, Too Fat Lardies gathering. It looks an interesting game with a different mechanic again. So you know, worth comparing it to these other 4. So I hope you found the whole thing interesting. And what I'm going to do next is produce a video where I discuss all the 4 rules in you know, in greater depth, and give you a little bit of my personal opinions on which ones I prefer. So thanks very much for watching. See you on the next video. Bye for now.